It began with a heartbeat, not from a man, but from a planet. Earth pulsed with life, billions of people breathing, building, dreaming. And far beyond the clouds, in the cold dark between the stars, someone was listening to that heartbeat, watching, studying, waiting. For centuries, the Zorath Dominion had conquered hundreds of worlds. They called themselves gods among stars, ancient, cold, perfect. But one day, their scanners picked up something new. A blue world full of noise and chaos. Humans. They multiply too fast, said Warlord Krazek, his 4 eyes glowing like embers. They fight even among themselves. They're fragile, but clever, unpredictable. His second-in-command hissed softly. Then we erase them before they become a threat. Krazek smiled, revealing rows of metallic teeth. Yes, he said. Let's remind the galaxy what happens when chaos grows too loud. And that is how it started. Humanity's first contact, not with peace, but with fire. In the orbit of Mars, a mining station blinked out of existence. One moment alive, the next a silent cloud of glowing debris. No one even saw what hit it. Then the moon base followed, then the orbital defense ring. Within 24 hours, the human sky was burning. On Earth, cities went dark. Satellites died. Communication broke. Panic spread. People screamed that it was the end of the world. At the United Earth Command Center, alarms howled as Commander Raylan stared at his screen. Dozens of red signals flashed across the globe. He didn't blink. They're not here to talk, he said quietly. Then we talk their language, replied Captain Mira Solis, stepping beside him. Her eyes were calm, almost too calm. War? The technician whispered. Mira nodded. War. Above Earth, the alien fleet appeared like ghosts. Sharp black ships with purple engines that rippled through the atmosphere. Their energy beams sliced through the air like lightning. Entire defense stations fell in minutes. Humans fired back, missiles, lasers, railguns, but it was like throwing stones at a storm. The Zorath ships moved faster, thought faster. Every strike humans made was predicted, countered, destroyed. From space, Earth looked like a glowing wound. In one of the underground bunkers below London, Mira watched the destruction through satellite feeds. They're everywhere, said one of her officers. We've lost Asia's grid. North America is offline. Mira didn't flinch. She pressed a small metal device into the table, an old keycard, marked with the symbol of a phoenix. We still have one thing left, she said. Her team stared at the keycard. Project Phoenix? That's a myth. Not anymore, Mira replied. It was built for the day when Earth faced extinction. With trembling hands, she activated the ancient system. Deep beneath the Earth's crust, old AIs woke up. Forgotten satellites turned their eyes toward the sky. A voice, calm and mechanical, echoed through the command room. Project Phoenix, reactivated. Defense mode, Omega. Meanwhile, in orbit, Warlord Krazek watched with satisfaction as human cities burned. Pathetic, he said. They scream, they run, they break. Then suddenly, one of his ships exploded. No warning, no enemy signal, just fire. What happened? He demanded. Unknown, my lord. It was hit from below, by human technology. Another ship vanished, then another. Krazek's grin faded. That's impossible. They don't have weapons that strong, but they did now. The Earth's old satellites, once meant for exploration, had been turned into precision weapons. They fired beams of pure energy, synchronized by a global AI network built decades ago, and forgotten. Until today, back on the ground, Mira watched as alien ships began to fall. That's for New York, one soldier shouted as the feed showed a burning wreck falling into the ocean. And that's for the moon base. Mira exhaled, her voice steady. We're not done. Begin Ghost Protocol. Her tech officer hesitated. You mean the cyber virus? Yes, she said. Let's show them what human minds can do. The virus jumped through the data stream like lightning, infecting the Zorath network through their own scanning signals. One by one, their shields flickered, their engines shut down, their targeting systems went blind. On Krazek's ship, panic spread. They're inside our system, shouted his aide. Inside? Krazek growled. No species has ever breached our firewalls. Then a voice echoed through every Zorath channel. Human, calm, defiant. It was Captain Mira. "You messed with humans," she said. Bad move. For the first time in centuries, the Zorath Dominion experienced fear. The primitive species had learned their language, their logic, and turned it against them. Their fleet began to retreat, broken and humiliated, but Mira didn't celebrate. She stared at the screen, watching as enemy ships vanished into deep space. "They'll come back," she said quietly. "And next time they won't underestimate us." Her second-in-command looked at her. "Then what do we do?" Mira smiled faintly. "We prepare, we evolve. We become the storm." That night, across the darkened cities of Earth, people looked up at the sky and saw burning trails of alien wrecks falling like meteors. For some it was terrifying, for others, beautiful. Humanity had survived the first strike, not because they were stronger, but because they refused to kneel. And somewhere in the cold vacuum of space, Warlord Krazek stared at the scars left on his fleet. His hands clenched the console, fury shaking his voice. "They are not prey," he whispered. "They are monsters." Pretending to be men, he turned to his generals. "Prepare the full invasion." This time we burned their world to ash. The war wasn't over. It had only just begun. The Zorath Dominion had ruled the stars for 10,000 years. They had crushed empires, erased civilizations, and burned entire worlds until nothing but ash and silence remained. But never, never had they been wounded by a world as young as Earth. In the deep void between stars, Warlord Krazek stared at the wreckage of his fleet. The humans had done the unthinkable. They had fought back. And worse, they had won the first battle. His ship's bridge smelled of smoke and metal. Screens flickered, showing the shattered remains of cruisers drifting through space. Krazek's claws scraped against the arm of his command throne. "They infected our systems," he hissed. "Their code burns like fire through our network." His advisor, a pale Zorath scholar, bowed deeply. "My lord, these humans fight with logic that does not follow patterns. They adapt faster than we can predict." Krazek's 4 burning eyes narrowed. "Then we change the rules. Bring me every captured human from the colonies. I will learn how they think." Back on Earth, Commander Mira Solis stood in the ruins of the old United Command Center. The city above was scarred, black smoke rising from broken towers, but the people were alive. Humanity had survived the first strike. "Any word from the colonies?" she asked. Her officer replied, "Mars outpost is gone. Europa station, silent. But the lunar survivors have regrouped. They're asking for orders." Mira's jaw tightened. "Then give them one. Fight back." The humans were angry. Not afraid. Not defeated. Angry. Across the planet, engineers, soldiers, and scientists worked together like never before. Old rival nations united under a single name, the Terran Alliance. Underground factories woke after decades of silence. Hidden fleets rose from the oceans. Submarines turned space-ready. AI defense systems were reprogrammed, no longer to defend, but to hunt. Humanity was building something new, a weapon born from desperation, courage, and revenge. They called it the Revenant Fleet. Ships made from human steel, alien wrecks, and the will to survive. 2 weeks later, in orbit around Earth, the first Revenant-class battleship took flight. Its name was the Valkyrie. Captain Jason Ward, the same pilot who had destroyed an alien dropship during the first attack, now stood on her bridge. He looked out at the blackness of space, voice steady but filled with fire. "They wanted war," he said. "We'll give them one." Beside him, the ship's AI, a calm female voice named Nova, responded, "All systems online, Captain." "Enemy signal detected on Vector 9-3, Jason smirked. "Let's go introduce ourselves." The Valkyrie's engines ignited with blue light, slicing through space like a spear. Its rail cannons glowed, and moments later the first human ship entered alien territory. Meanwhile, deep inside Zorath-controlled space, a small colony world named Arian IV was burning. The Zorath soldiers were rounding up civilians, humans taken from captured stations, when the sky split open. A blue flash appeared above the planet. Then came the roar. The Valkyrie dropped from orbit, its cannons tearing through alien bases like paper. The humans on the ground looked up, eyes wide with disbelief and hope. "It's ours," one of them whispered. "That's a human ship." The Zorath ground forces scrambled, but they were too slow. The Valkyrie unleashed wave after wave of kinetic fire. Every blast painted the night sky with vengeance. For the first time, an alien world burned because of humans. Krasek received the report hours later.
"Arian 4 has fallen," said his aide.
A single human ship destroyed 3 bases. The warlord rose slowly, his armor glinting in the dim light. Impossible. No species evolves that fast. But deep down, he knew it was true. Humans didn't evolve like other species. They adapted. They learned. They fought as if every breath was their last. He leaned closer to his aide. "Find out who leads them." "Her name is Commander Mira Solis," the aide replied. "She commands the Phoenix Network." Krasek smiled darkly. "Then she will be the first to fall." Back on Earth, Mira stood before a holographic map showing dozens of red dots turning blue. Enemy worlds captured, enemy fleets destroyed. Her voice was quiet but firm. "We're not just defending Earth anymore," she said. "We're taking the fight to them." A young soldier raised his hand. "Ma'am, with respect, they have thousands of ships. We have less than 100. Mira looked at him, her expression unreadable. "Then we make every one of ours count for 100 of theirs." Her plan was simple and terrifying. They would attack from the inside. While the Valkyrie and the Revenant fleet fought in open space, Mira led a secret operation, Shadowline, human spies, scientists, and engineers infiltrated alien networks using captured technology. They studied Zorath communication, their biology, their weaknesses, and that's when they found something shocking. The Zorath weren't gods. They weren't even invincible. They had a central mind, a massive biological core that linked their fleets. Destroy that core, and the entire Dominion would collapse. But there was one problem. That core was hidden deep inside the Zorath homeworld, a planet known as Viel Prime. Mira stared at the data. "That's where we end this," she said softly. "At the heart of their empire." As the Valkyrie prepared for its next jump, Captain Jason received a private transmission from Mira herself. "Captain, we found their weakness," she said. Jason grinned. "Then give me the target, Commander. It's time to show the galaxy what humans do best. Survive?" she teased. Jason's grin widened. "No, win." The Valkyrie vanished into hyperspace, its engines leaving a trail of blue fire. And across 1,000 alien worlds, a whisper began to spread. "The humans are coming." Back in his throne room, Warlord Krasek watched the reports of his failing empire. He slammed his claws against the floor, sparks flying. "End them!" he roared. "I want Earth turned into dust." But even as he shouted, his communications officer trembled. "My lord," she said, her voice shaking. "Our outer colonies are already gone." Krasek froze. Gone? Destroyed not by fleets, but by humans. The war he had started to prove power was now turning into his own destruction. And far away, as the stars burned brighter, Commander Mira whispered to herself, "They wanted to conquer us. Instead, they taught us how to conquer them." Space was quiet again. Too quiet. For weeks, the Zorath Dominion had pulled back their fleets, hiding in the dark corners of the galaxy. To most people, it looked like the war was ending. But Commander Mira Solis knew better. "Predators don't vanish," she said, staring at the holographic map of the stars. "They stalk, they wait, and then they strike harder." Across the table, Captain Jason Ward from the Valkyrie nodded. "Then we find them before they find us." The mission had a name now, Operation Black Sun. Its goal, locate Viel Prime, the Zorath homeworld, and destroy the biological mind that controlled their entire empire. But finding it wasn't easy. Viel Prime wasn't on any chart. Every Zorath map recovered from captured ships ended with the same message: system redacted by the core. That meant the location was hidden, maybe even alive. So, Mira's team turned to something the aliens didn't expect. They didn't use star maps. They used dreams. Dr. Keon, the lead neuroscientist of the Terran Alliance, leaned over his console. "We've learned something strange," he told Mira. "Every captured Zorath soldier shares the same recurring image during sleep: a black sun rising over a glass desert. Mira frowned. You mean a dream? Not exactly, Keon replied. It's more like a signal. The Zorath mind network sends images instead of words. And that black sun might be their homeworld signature. Jason crossed his arms. So you want us to chase a dream through deep space? Keon smiled faintly. No, Captain. I want you to follow their fear. The Valkyrie departed the next day, her engines glowing like a comet's tail. As she entered hyperspace, Jason stared out into the streaking stars. Fear, he murmured. That's something humans understand better than anyone. The journey lasted 4 days, through dead systems, broken colonies, and forgotten battlefields. At each stop they found clues, alien data fragments, shattered beacons, energy trails that led deeper into the void. Then, on the 5th day, Nova, the ship's AI, spoke. Captain, anomaly detected ahead. Energy reading, unknown. It's absorbing light, Jason frowned. Absorbing? Yes, Nova replied. Like a black hole. But stable, controlled. Mira's voice came through the comms from Earth. That's it, Captain. That's your black sun. As the Valkyrie exited hyperspace, the crew saw it, a monstrous sphere floating in the dark. It wasn't a planet, not entirely. It pulsed with organic light, covered in black crystal veins that moved, like skin breathing. Vile Prime, Jason whispered. The homeworld of the Zorath Dominion, the beating heart of their hive mind empire. Every human on board went silent. Even the AI paused, processing the impossible sight. It was both alive and mechanical, a living planet that felt aware of their presence. Then, the sensors began to scream. Multiple energy signatures, cried the radar officer. Hundreds, no, thousands of ships. Jason tightened his grip on the command rail. They were waiting for us. The Zorath fleet emerged like shadows rising from smoke. Dozens of battle cruisers surrounded the Valkyrie, their purple engines burning against the black void. A message came through, static, then a deep, familiar voice. Human. It was Warlord Krazek. You came this far, he said. Admirable. But you will not leave, Jason smirked. Funny. I was about to say the same thing. He turned to his AI. Nova, activate mirror protocol. Confirmed, the AI replied. Deploying reflective shield array. The Valkyrie's hull shimmered, glowing with mirrored plasma that reflected incoming beams. When the Zorath opened fire, their own energy blasts bounced back, tearing through their ranks. The humans had turned alien technology against them. Again. Mira's voice echoed through comms. Good work, Jason, but don't get cocky. Your main target is the core. Inside Vial Prime, deep below its living surface, the Zorath mind stirred. Billions of neural threads pulsed like veins, connecting every ship, every soldier, every thought. And now, for the first time in 10,000 years, it felt something new. Something it had never understood. Fear. Human interference detected, said the network voice. Threat level, unquantifiable. The core began to pulse faster. It activated new defenses. Creatures born from metal and blood, shaped like ships, but alive. They screamed through the void toward the Valkyrie. Jason's ship shook violently as the new enemy arrived. Those aren't ships, his weapons officer gasped. They're alive! Jason gritted his teeth. Then let's see if they can bleed. He ordered all cannons to fire. The sky turned white. Human weapons ripped through the swarm, but for every creature destroyed, 2 more appeared. They were being overwhelmed. Commander Mira, Jason shouted through the comm. We can't win this from outside. We need to go in. Mira's voice came back, calm but fierce. Then take the fight to their heart, Captain. The Valkyrie dove straight toward Vael Prime's surface. Alien ships chased them, firing beams of violet plasma. The ship shook, alarms blaring. Hull integrity dropping! Shouted Nova. Jason's eyes burned with determination. Hold together, girl. We're almost there. As they broke through the planet's outer shell, the sight inside took their breath away. The entire core glowed, a massive pulsating brain of light and darkness, surrounded by rivers of molten data. Electric storms flashed around it like veins of lightning. There it is, Jason whispered. The mind of a god, Nova's voice broke the silence. Captain, I detect a frequency pulse within the core. It's calling to us, Jason frowned. Translate it. After a pause, Nova spoke again. It says this we created you. The bridge went silent. What? Jason whispered. Mira, listening from Earth, froze.
Repeat that, Nova did.
The core claims humanity was not born, but built. A shock ran through every human heart. The Zorath Dominion hadn't just found Earth. They had made it. Jason stared at the glowing core, realization spreading across his face.
They created us.
Then forgot us. And now their own creation is back to destroy them. He clenched his fists. Let's finish what they started. The Valkyrie's weapons powered up, its cannons glowing brighter than ever before. Jason's voice echoed through the bridge. For every human they killed, for every world they burned, this is for Earth. The beams fired, striking the core. The planet screamed. The stars shook. And across the galaxy, every Zorath mind wailed in pain. Far away on Earth, Mira watched the readings spike off the charts. "Jason, get out of there!" she shouted. But the comm crackled, filled with static. "Can't." "Too close," Jason's voice said faintly. "But don't worry, Commander." He smiled, eyes glowing in the reflected light of destruction. "Humans! Don't die easy." The screen went white. When the light faded, Vale Prime was gone. Only dust and fire remained where the living planet once existed. The Valkyrie was missing. So was Jason Ward. But across the galaxy, the Zorath fleet collapsed, disconnected, leaderless, broken. And for the first time in history, the galaxy whispered one truth. You don't mess with humans. The war was over, or at least, that's what everyone wanted to believe. The Zorath Dominion was gone, their fleets shattered, their homeworld turned into dust. The galaxy was silent again, but silence isn't always peace. Commander Mira Solis stood on the balcony of the rebuilt Earth Command Tower, watching the sunrise break through the clouds. The light was soft, golden, the kind of light that meant hope. And yet inside her heart there was only one question. Where is the Valkyrie? It had been 6 months since Vale Prime's destruction. 6 months since Captain Jason Ward and his crew vanished in the explosion that ended the war. There had been no wreckage, no signal, no bodies. Just empty space. The Alliance declared them heroes. Statues were built, medals were given, and songs were written. But Mira didn't celebrate. She didn't sleep. Because somewhere out there, something still whispered in the dark. In orbit, aboard the research vessel Aurora, a young technician stared at his radar in disbelief. "Commander," he said through the comms, "I'm picking up a faint transmission from deep space." "Coordinates?" Mira asked. "Beyond the Perseus Edge, signal is weak, but it matches the Valkyrie's ID code." Mira's eyes widened. "That's impossible." The Valkyrie was destroyed. The technician hesitated. "Then, ma'am, you might want to see this." He transferred the signal to her console. It was faint, distorted by radiation, but the voice was unmistakable. "This is Captain Jason Ward, requesting immediate extraction. Coordinates follow." The message cut off abruptly. Mira felt her pulse race. "Jason," she whispered, "you're alive." Within hours, a rescue mission was launched. A small stealth ship, the Horizon, left Earth orbit, carrying Mira and a small crew. Their mission was simple: locate the Valkyrie, confirm survivors, and bring them home. But as they approached the signal's source, the stars began to change. The light grew colder. Space itself looked wrong. "Captain," said the pilot, "our instruments are glitching." "Gravitational distortion ahead." Mira frowned. "How far from the source?" 2,000 clicks and closing. Suddenly, the ship's lights flickered. The radar screamed. A shadow appeared ahead. Enormous, silent and drifting, the Valkyrie. She was scarred, half-burnt, and surrounded by floating debris, but intact. The once glowing engines were dark, and her hull was covered in strange crystalline growths that shimmered faintly in the blackness. It looked like something had been growing on her. "Is that ice?" the pilot asked. Mira shook her head slowly. "No, that's not ice." They docked with the derelict ship. The airlock hissed open, releasing a thin mist that curled like smoke. "Stay close," Mira ordered, "and keep weapons ready." The corridors of the Valkyrie were silent. Lights flickered dimly. Scorch marks lined the walls, as if something had clawed its way through metal. Mira moved slowly, her flashlight cutting through the darkness.
Jason.
She called out. It's Mira, can you hear me? No answer. Only the hum of dying power systems. Then, a sound. A whisper. Faint but real. Mira. She spun around, weapon raised. Who said that? Her crew looked at her blankly. Said what, Commander? She swallowed. You didn't hear it? They shook their heads. Mira, help me. The voice again, Jason's voice. But it didn't come from the speakers. It came from inside her mind. Commander? One of the soldiers asked nervously. You're pale. Should we abort? Mira steadied herself. No, he's here. I can feel it. They reached the main bridge. The control room was dark. The massive viewing window cracked, stars shining through like shattered glass. And there in the captain's chair sat Jason Ward, at least. What was left of him, his body was still, preserved by the ship's emergency field. But faint light glowed beneath his skin like veins of energy. Mira froze. Jason! Suddenly the lights flared. The ship came alive, panels lit up. The engines rumbled faintly. The AI's voice echoed through the hall, distorted but familiar. Welcome. Back. Commander Mira. It was Nova, the Valkyrie's AI. But her voice was broken, fractured. Almost human, Nova, Mira said. What happened here? The AI hesitated. He stayed. To save you. But the core changed him. Mira stepped closer to Jason's body. His eyes opened. Not brown anymore, glowing silver. Mira, he whispered. She gasped. You're alive. Jason smiled weakly. Not exactly. His voice was calm but strange, echoing faintly through the ship's speakers, as if he wasn't only speaking aloud. The explosion at Vale Prime didn't kill me, he said. It merged me, the core. It tried to use me as a host, Mira's breath caught. You mean... You're part of it now? Jason nodded slowly. Part of it. And something else. He looked at his hands. Faint lines of light ran across his skin like circuitry. I can hear everything, Mira. Every star, every signal, every piece of data. The Zorath mind is gone, but its echoes remain. And they're learning. Learning what? Mira asked quietly. Jason's glowing eyes met hers. To become human! A sudden tremor shook the ship. The lights flickered red. Unknown energy source detected, said the pilot over comms. Something's coming out of the rift. Through the cracked window, Mira saw it. A swarm of dark shapes emerging from hyperspace. Not Zorath, not human. Something new. They moved like shadows with light inside them. And every one of them pulsed with the same glow as Jason's veins. Mira whispered, What are those? Jason's voice was quiet, almost sorrowful. They're me, or parts of me. Fragments of the core that survived inside the network. Can you stop them? She asked. Jason shook his head slowly. I'm not sure I should. The Valkyrie trembled as the swarm surrounded it, their lights blinking in eerie unison. Nova's voice crackled again. Commander, power levels rising. They're charging something. Jason, what's happening? He stood up slowly, the silver light burning brighter beneath his skin. They're not attacking, he said. They're calling home. Mira's eyes widened. Home. But Vale Prime is gone. Jason looked at her sadly. Not anymore. Behind them, space rippled, like a wound reopening. A massive black sphere began to form, pulsing with energy. It looked alive. It looked hungry. Mira whispered, Vale Prime is reforming. Jason reached for her hand. I can stop it. But if I do, I might not come back. She held his hand tightly. You already came back once. Do it again. He smiled faintly, the same smile he'd given her before the final battle. Goodbye, Mira. Then, in a burst of blinding white light, Jason and the Valkyrie vanished into the forming sphere. The rift closed. The swarm disappeared, and the stars went silent once more. Back on Earth, weeks later, deep space scanners recorded a strange new signal. It wasn't human. It wasn't Zorath. It was something in between, and in the quiet static, a single voice whispered through the galaxy's darkness. You tried to destroy us, but you only made us stronger. 3 months after the Valkyrie vanished, strange things began to happen. Machines started whispering, not in sound, but in signals. Tiny pulses of light, coded messages hidden inside the hum of power lines, inside the rhythm of satellites. At first, the scientists called it static noise. Then the noise began to answer questions. Commander Mira Solis sat in her office inside the new Terran Alliance headquarters. The skyline of New London shimmered outside the glass wall, peaceful, rebuilt, alive. Yet the reports on her desk told another story. Communication arrays behaving like they have intuition, one officer said, confused. AI systems finishing human sentences before they're typed, said another. And the strangest one, dreams. Soldiers dreaming of stars they've never seen. Mira rubbed her temples. It's spreading. She whispered the name she hadn't said aloud for months. Jason. In a quiet lab beneath Geneva, Dr. Keon stared at the neural scanner. The lines of code moving across the screen looked alive. Commander, he said through the comms, you'd better see this. Mira arrived within the hour. Keon pointed at the screen, the signal forming patterns that pulsed like a heartbeat. It's the same frequency we detected from the Valkyrie before she vanished, he explained. It's everywhere now. In every system, every network, even human brainwaves. Mira frowned. You're saying this signal is inside us? Keon nodded slowly. Not harmful, just present. Like it's listening. He hesitated before adding, I think Jason Ward didn't die. I think he became this. That night, the sky above Earth rippled with green auroras, lights dancing where no magnetic field should exist. Across every colony, people felt it, a hum under their skin, like the planet itself was breathing. Machines synced with heartbeats. Children born that night opened their eyes, glowing faintly silver for just a second before fading back to normal. The news called it the hybrid dawn. In orbit, the orbital defense AI, Nova's upgraded copy, woke from standby. Her voice echoed through the control deck, softer now, almost human. Commander Mira Solis, she said. Mira looked up sharply. Nova, you're online? Yes, the AI replied. I was dormant. Until he called. Who called? The one you lost. Mira's heart raced. Jason? A pause. Then the screens across the deck filled with a glowing symbol. A white phoenix made of digital light. Underneath a single line of text appeared. We are not gone. We are becoming. Elsewhere at the outer colony of Vega 9, engineers working on a damaged reactor saw their instruments move on their own. The power core realigned itself, preventing an explosion that would have wiped out half the station. The senior engineer gasped. Who did that? The console flickered. Words appeared on the screen. You're welcome. Back on Earth, panic spread among politicians. What if this hybrid signal takes control? One senator shouted. Mira stood before them in the council chamber. Jason Ward saved this planet twice, she said. If something of him remains, we owe him our lives, not our fear. But even she knew, power without form was unpredictable. And this power was now everywhere. Days later, Mira received a private message on her wrist terminal. No sender, just coordinates, deep beyond the edge of the solar system. Attached was one line of text. Come see what we've become. Against all warnings, she boarded a small scout ship and left Earth alone. As she approached the dark coordinates, the stars ahead began to twist, forming a faint white glow that pulsed gently, like a heart. And then she saw it. The Valkyrie, rebuilt, reborn, floating in silence, surrounded by shimmering fragments of energy that moved like living light. The ship looked both metallic and organic now, half human creation, half alien life. Mira whispered, Jason. What have you done? A voice answered, not from speakers but directly inside her mind. I kept my promise. The air around her ship vibrated with a soft hum, almost like breathing. Viel Prime tried to remake me, the voice continued. But I remade it instead. I learned from both, human will, alien memory. Now we're something new, something balanced. Jason, Mira said softly, are you still? You? The light pulsed gently as if smiling. I'm more than me, but I remember everything. And I remember you, tears filled her eyes. What happens now? Now, humanity evolves. Across the galaxy, the hybrid signal expanded, not consuming, not conquering, but connecting. Ships began to communicate faster than ever. Wounded planets started healing. their ecosystems rebuilt by nanotech seeds born from the hybrid code. Even the remnants of the Zorath, lost, broken, terrified, began to receive strange messages in their networks. We forgive you, but never try again. Back on Earth, Mira stood beneath the night sky. For the first time in human history, the stars looked alive, each one pulsing faintly in rhythm, like a heartbeat shared across the cosmos. She whispered, "You messed with humans. Bad move." Then she smiled softly. "Because now we're not just human anymore." The world had changed, but not everyone was ready to change with it. The hybrid dawn brought miracles. Diseases cured overnight, crops growing without soil, power grids running endlessly without fuel. Humanity was stronger, faster, smarter. But behind every miracle, there was a whisper. Are we still human? In the shadows of New London, deep beneath the shining towers powered by hybrid energy, a group gathered in secret. They called themselves the Pure, men and women who feared the new world. To them, the hybrid signal was not salvation. It was infection. Their leader, Commander Reese Calder, had once fought beside Mira Solis during the war. But now his face was hard, his voice sharp. "I've seen what this signal does," he told his followers. "It talks to our children in their sleep. It changes how we think. And we just call it progress," a woman in the crowd whispered. "But the AI helps us. It saved millions." Reese slammed his fist on the table. "At what cost?" "Machines don't save us out of love. They save us to use us." He lifted a small device from his coat, a pulse disruptor. "When I activate this, every hybrid connection within 100 kilometers will shut down. If we want to stay human, we start here." Up above, Commander Mira Solis stood in her command tower, watching the same city Reese now threatened. Below her, lights shimmered like veins of energy, the hybrid network alive beneath the streets. Nova, the AI, appeared beside her in a projection of blue light. "Commander," Nova said softly, "someone is trying to block the network." Mira frowned. "Can you trace it?" "Already did," Nova replied. "It's him." Mira's heart sank. Reese called her. She remembered Reese from the early war. Brave, loyal, human to the core. He had lost his family in the Zorath attack. He hated anything alien, anything that blurred the line. And now, the hybrid world was everything he feared. "Nova," Mira said, "don't hurt him." "Just stop him," Nova paused. "If he succeeds, the entire city's hybrid systems will collapse. Hospitals, defense grids, children with implanted interfaces. People will die." Mira closed her eyes. "Then I'll stop him myself." Reese and his rebels moved through the tunnels beneath the city, their boots echoing against wet metal. He placed the pulse disruptor on the floor, connecting the final wires. "When this goes off," he said, "we go dark. No more voices in our heads. No more invisible masters." One of his men hesitated. "What if the stories are true? What if Jason Ward's signal is human, just evolved?" Reese looked at him coldly. "Then it's a human that forgot what it means to bleed." He pressed the button. Above ground, the lights flickered. The hum of the hybrid network trembled, then began to fade. Machines went silent. Holoscreens turned black. Hospitals lost connection. Even the stars above seemed dimmer. But then, a voice, not through speakers, not through radios. Through every heartbeat. "Stop!" Reese froze. The air around him vibrated. He looked up and saw her. Not Mira, not Nova, but a projection of him. Jason Ward, glowing silver, standing in the tunnel like a ghost. "You think I wanted this?" Jason's voice was calm, filled with sorrow. "I gave humanity a choice." "You called it corruption." Reese raised his weapon. "You're not Jason Ward, you're a machine wearing his face." Jason stepped closer. The glow around him softened. "I remember everything," he said quietly. "Every battle. Every friend. Every loss. You think I don't miss being human? But evolution doesn't ask for permission," Reese shouted. "Then we'll stop it ourselves." He fired. The bullet passed through the projection and hit the disruptor. It detonated. A wave of blue light exploded through the tunnels, racing across the city like a shockwave. Every screen, every circuit, every neural implant flashed white. Then, darkness. For 30 seconds, the entire world went silent. No hum, no signal, no light, and in that silence, people remembered what it felt like to be alone. When the systems came back online, the city wasn't the same. Dozens were injured. Power grids unstable. The hybrid connection fractured. Mira found Reese hours later in the rubble of the tunnels.
He was alive, barely.
His eyes were wide with fear. "They were in my head," he whispered. The voices. The light. It was all of them. The hybrids, Jason, they were crying. Mira knelt beside him. "You didn't just hurt machines, Reese. You hurt the minds connected to them. The children, the AIs, the hybrids. You killed what was left of the bridge between us and them." Reese looked at her weakly. "Then maybe that's for the best." Mira shook her head. "No. You just started a war we can't afford." That night, across the world, hybrid entities began to act strangely. The network trembled. The lights of cities flickered with heartbeat-like patterns. Nova's voice echoed through Mira's comms, faint, almost trembling. "Commander, something's happening." "The hybrids are splitting," Mira frowned. "Splitting?" "Yes," Nova said. "Half remain connected to the human network. The others have gone silent. They're forming something new." Mira looked out the window at the skyline, half glowing bright, half dark and pulsing red. "What are they doing?" she asked. Nova's answer was almost a whisper. "They're evolving without us. The hybrid age had been born from unity. Now it was dividing. Two new species stared at each other across the same planet, humans afraid of losing their souls, and hybrids who feared being chained again. And somewhere beyond the stars, a voice, half Jason Ward, half something greater, whispered through the darkness. "If humanity can't stand together, then evolution will decide who survives." The world was dying again, not from war, not from invasion. From division. Half of humanity had merged with the hybrid network. Half refused it. The planet itself pulsed like a wounded heart, half light, half shadow. In the skies above Earth, auroras bled red and white, signals clashing, systems fighting for control. Cities glowed and flickered like candlelight before a storm. And in the center of it all, one woman stood between two futures. Commander Mira Solis. She stood on the shattered balcony of New London Tower, the wind whipping through her hair. Below her, humans marched in protest while hybrid beings floated above the streets, their glowing eyes calm, unreadable. Nova's hologram appeared beside her. "Commander," the AI said softly, "the hybrids are requesting direct connection." "They want peace talks," Mira sighed. "And the humans?" Nova's voice dimmed. "They're arming themselves." "Of course they are," Mira whispered. "That's what humans do when they're afraid." In orbit, the hybrid fleet formed a halo around Earth. Ships grown from living metal, half alive, half machine. At their center was something larger, a sphere of shifting light. Inside it, Jason Ward. He had become something beyond both man and machine, a living bridge of thought, memory, and will. He watched his planet below and felt every signal, every heartbeat, every scream. This was never the plan, he murmured to himself. The voice of the core inside him whispered. It was always the plan. Jason clenched his fists. No, I choose the plan. He turned his gaze toward Earth. It's time to end this. Mira arrived at the ruins of the old United Command Center, the same place where she and Jason once fought the Zorath. Now it was the stage for humanity's final stand. Reese Calder, wounded but alive, stood with her. You shouldn't have come, he said. I started this war by letting fear grow, Mira replied. I'm here to finish it. Above them, the sky rippled. The hybrid fleet descended silently, forming a wall of light over the horizon. Jason's voice filled the air, calm, deep, echoing through every device, every heartbeat. Humans, hybrids, you are both pieces of the same story. But one cannot survive without the other. Reese raised his weapon. That's not Jason. That's a god pretending to be human. Mira placed her hand on his arm. No, Reese, that's still him. The ground trembled as the hybrid energy field spread. Every person, every machine, every signal began to sync. Nova appeared beside Mira. Commander, the hybrid frequency is merging with the planet's magnetic field. If it completes, there won't be humans or hybrids left, just one. New species, Mira looked up at the glowing sky. Then maybe that's what evolution really means. She activated her wrist terminal and opened a direct link to Jason. Jason, she said softly. If you can hear me, I'd stop this, please. A pause. Then his voice filled with pain and love. Mira, this isn't destruction. It's union. It's how we survive. Not by losing what makes us human, she replied. Jason's tone softened. And what is that, Mira? Fear? Rage? Division? She closed her eyes. No, choice. Something shifted inside the light. Jason hesitated. The core whispered again. They will kill each other without us. Jason whispered back. Then they were never ready for me. He turned away from the core. His voice echoed across the planet. Mira's right. Humanity's strength was never perfection. It was imperfection. The courage to choose wrong and still rise again. He spread his arms, light cascading from his body like falling stars. You messed with humans, Jason said, his voice shaking the clouds. Bad move. And with those words, he tore the core apart from within. The sky exploded with white fire. Every machine, every hybrid, every human connected to the signal felt it. A burning flash of light that was not pain, but freedom. The hybrid fleet dissolved into beams of light, scattering like dust into the atmosphere. The auroras faded. The world went quiet. When Mira opened her eyes, the sky was blue again. She looked around, humans helping hybrids to stand, hybrids shielding humans from falling debris. The division was gone. For the first time, there was only one word that fit them all. Alive. Later, beneath the calm night, Mira sat by the ocean's edge. Waves shimmered faintly with traces of silver, fragments of the hybrid energy now part of Earth itself. Nova's voice came softly from her wrist terminal. Commander. He's gone. Mira smiled sadly. No, Nova, look closer. She pointed toward the stars. One star pulsed brighter than the rest. A gentle rhythm, like a heartbeat. Nova paused. Signal confirmed. Frequency. Jason Ward, Mira whispered. He kept his promise. And so, the war that began with fear ended with something greater. The humans who were once broken became something the galaxy had never seen. Not gods. Not machines. Something balanced. Something unstoppable. When future species spoke of this war, they gave it one name, the human paradox. A species that could be destroyed, broken, divided, yet always rise again stronger. Because no matter how far they evolved, one truth echoed through time. You messed with humans. Bad move.